Hello, welcome to Kilted Swede. A question I'm often asked is how many Scottish words are similar to Swedish or Scandinavian languages. There do seem to be a fair few. I have compiled a list and I have 25. 30 in total, but some of them are kind of doubles. And then the last 5 are words that seem to have a direct link to Old Norse, fornnordiska. So I'll just go through them and, well, see what you think. Some of them are more just how we pronounce words. So it is English, but it's just a Scottish pronunciation, which is more similar to Swedish. Whereas some of them seem to be far closer to the Swedish than the English equivalent, even if it's just how they sound. But let's start with number 1. Braw. If something's good in Scotland, especially if it's really good, it's Braw. B-R-A-W. The equivalent in Sweden would be bra, for good, spelt B-R-A. Braw and bra, way more similar than good. Number 2 is Bairn, child. B-A-I-R-N, Bairn. What's that in Swedish? Barn, B-A-R-N. Very close. Number 3 is Hoose. This is one of those more pronunciation ones. But it's interesting because if you ask me to spell Hoose, as a Scot would say it, I would spell it H-O-O-S-E, which is of course house. But then in Swedish it's Hus, which is spelled H-U-S. Kind of similar, but if you take Hus and House, they're really close, closer than house, in my opinion. Number 4 is Hame, related closely. Home. So H-A-M-E then, Hame in Scotland. Hem in Swedish, H-E-M. Again, Hame and hem, closer than home. See a bit of a pattern emerging here with A's and E's and then O's. Number 5, here's the one that I have possibly never heard before. And if I have, it's not a word I've ever used, or it's not something that's really been, it's not in my vocabulary, basically. It's Flit, F-L-I-T. I might even be saying that wrong because I've never heard it before. And it's move house, specifically. Now this is only used in Scotland. And if you take move, which is not necessarily move house, just the actual word move in Swedish, it's flytta, to move, att flytta. So flit, F-L-I-T, and then flytta is F-L-Y-T-T-A. Very close. Number 6 is Soor, which means sour. S-O-O-R. The pronunciation's a bit, it feels wrong for me as I'm used to the Swedish, which is Soor, which is S-U-R, which is a real emphasis on that U, you know. So the sound with the O's becomes a bit weird for me now. But anyway, it's Soor in Scotland with S-O-O-R, and then Soor in Sweden, S-U-R. And again, Soor and sour, closer than sour. Number 7. I put this in just because it was kind of funny. I don't know if it's even a thing, but for cow, the animal, in Scotland we say coo, and we usually spell it C-O-O. Now in Sweden it's ko, K-O. Not knockout, but ko, cow. So coo and coo, very close, closer than cow. Pattern. Number 8. Not to be confused with moose, as in Ellie, the really big animals. This is a very small animal, moose, as in mouse. Now you can spell that either M-O-O-S or M-O-O-S-E, like moose, but I think it would more often be spelled M-O-O-S to avoid confusion between a big moose and a wee moose. So again, moose, moose in Swedish, M-U-S, closer than mouse. Definite pattern here, right? Number 9 is interesting because it was actually an English person many years ago that pulled me up for this when I used the word outwith. That's out and with combined. Apparently this is only used in Scotland, at least if you're looking at, the UK. Maybe Ireland as well, I don't actually know. But Wales, perhaps? But not in England anyway. Outwith. It means outside of, beyond. It's quite specific as well. And Utmed exists in Swedish. And when I heard that, it was like a light bulb went off. I thought, that must be where it comes from. But it's not exactly the same meaning. Utmed has a more broad meaning. It can mean the same thing, but it kind of means more kind of parallel to, or längs med, long with, as you'd say in Swedish. So maybe not exactly the same meaning, but the origin could well be the same. Don't know, but I mean, the literal word is identical. Outwith, Utmed. They are the same words combined, so I would call that a link. Number 10 is sound, not you, not thing you hear. Straight, as in, and not as in, rock, straight like a straight line. Straight as in a body of water between land, as in Strait. The sound of Jura springs to mind by the island of Jura. So sound or straight is sund in Swedish, or farled, but the word in that context exists in Swedish as sund, which also has other meanings, but it does translate as that. And then number 11, dear, D-E-A-R, as in expensive. I hadn't actually thought of that one until fairly recently, because dyr in Swedish, D-Y-R, I guess I've made the connection before, but it's never really jumped out as an obvious one of, oh, that's where that came from. But it is blindingly obvious when you think about dear as in expensive and dyr, expensive, the literal word for it in Swedish. Because that's very commonly used in Scotland, especially if something's really expensive. Or just expensive, because we Scots are known for being snåla, or tight. Careful with our money. We're clever. I actually once heard two elderly gentlemen having a debate in a cafe here in Sweden a few years ago, when my Swedish wasn't great, so it wasn't quite good enough to talk to them, but one of them had heard this about Scots being snåla, tight, and he was telling the other one, and the other one just did not believe this at all. And then he started talking about the stereotype of Swedes from down in Småland being tight, and saying, it's only that lot, it can't be the Scots as well. But yeah, we do have a lot in common there, apparently. I was very tempted to go over, and I wish to this day that I had, but I just didn't feel confident enough with my Swedish skills back then, so sadly I didn't. But it would have been a lot of fun, especially if I'd said it in Swedish in a broad Scottish accent. Oh well, retrospect. If only it wasn't so retro. So that must mean that I'm on 12. Fur. Not as in on an animal. Furry boot chiffé, as they would say in Aberdeen. Whereabouts are you from? Instead of the word for in English, a lot of Scots say fur. Especially in Aberdeen, for example. And if you look at how it is in Swedish, F-O with 2 dots, R, fur, fur. Very close sound. Closer than for. 13 is Mair or Maist. This is one of those combined ones, which is sort of the same, but 2 words. More and most. So more is Mair, M-A-I-R, and then most is Maist, M-A-I-S-T. In Swedish, Mair and Mest, M-E-R, Mair, M-E-S-T, Mest. Very close. Mair, Mair, Maist, Mest. Closer than more and most. 14, nu, as in now, N-O-O, nu. Or a lot of people say the now, right now. In Swedish it's nu, N-U, nu, nu, now. They're closer. Number 15 is ut, O-O-T, out. What's it in Swedish? Ut, U-T, ut. Ut, ut, out. Number 16 is Brun, brown. What's that in Swedish? Broon, B-R-U-N. So we spell that in Scottish, B-R-O-O-N. Again, you see a pattern here. Brun, brown, brown. Number 17, similar again. Grund, ground. And what's that in Swedish? Grund, G-R-U-N-D. And in Scottish it's G-R-O-O-N-D. Grund, Groond. Grund, Grund, ground. Number 18 is Och / Asch. I don't speak Gaelic, but apparently Asch is Gaelic, or at least used in Gaelic. And I don't know how formal it is, but they're similar anyway. The use and the meaning seems to be the same. An expression of kind of, disapproval or pain, sorrow, or just, the general och aye. But if you just say och or ach, you can just say that as a sound to somebody. I never really thought about the direct translation of this, but when I was looking at it recently, I've written down O, like a with a ring above it, with an H, O, which is O in English, as an exclamation, and but more, I would say Usch, U-S-C-H in Swedish, because the sound is very similar. Och, ach, uch. That sounds really weird now that I'm saying it. But uch is a kind of explanation for, especially in the negative sense of disgust, or if someone's hurt themselves, for example, you would say, uch, oh, poor you, that's a shame, or that's awful. And then you can use och and ach in the same sort of sense. If you know better, please enlighten me. More than open for being corrected here. I'm not saying I'm right on any of these, really. This is just what I've gathered. It's my interpretation of these words and the links that I have seen and heard. So feel free. Get busy in the comments. But be nice. Please. Number 19 is Baltic, as in the Baltic Sea. Now, if you use that in Scotland, that seems to be a bit more regionally used, and it means very, very, very cold. Really, 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 like colder than cold, colder than freezing, colder than the Arctic and the Antarctic and all the coldest stuff it's beyond cold. It's properly Baltic. It's literally beyond freezing. You've gone into the freezer. You've closed the door behind you, you've gone into the back, and then you've gone through the wall into the realms of the... Never mind. It just means really, 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 really cold. Perhaps a little ironic, but this doesn't actually have a translation as such. It's more just a word that's used in Scotland, which, well, the Baltic Sea. I don't really know why, because the Baltic isn't particularly cold. I mean, now that I think about it, I don't even know why that one's on the list. But it is. And I've said it now, so there you have it. Number 20 is also a funny one, which maybe shouldn't be on the list, but I mean, I think it has to be. Any Scot who comes to Sweden and sees a police car will laugh and smile because it's spelled correctly. It's the Polis. P-O-L-I-S. That's how we say police in Scotland. The Polis. Polis. Granted, it's pronounced like police in Swedish. It's police, which is almost exactly the same. But if you take the spelling in Swedish, what's written on a police car, it's Polis for a Scot, and I just think that's wonderful. It makes me smile every time I see it. Moving on to number 21 then. Gie or geese. G-I-E or G-E-E-Z. Give. In Swedish it's ge. G-E. That's almost the same. If you were saying ye in, well, either English or speaking with a Scottish accent, you would pronounce the hard G. Gie. As it is in Scotland. 22, similar. Gae, gan. G-A-E or G-A-N is go. And then this is one of the first ones which apparently comes from Old Norse, which is, I don't know if I'm saying this, if it's Yanga or Ganga, I would guess, because it was more often harder letters than. But Ganga is apparently an origin for gay and gan in that context, for go. Because, I mean, go in English and Swedish are almost the same sound. They're just spelled differently. G-O or G-O, the A with the ring above it. Go, go. 23 is frey or fey. Fey is probably the more common one, if you ask me. So F-R-A-E, frey, or F-A-E, fey. From. Från in Swedish. And also the Old Norse of that is fra. The accent, there's an accent on the A, F-R-A with an accent. And I'm not 100% sure about the pronunciation of that, how it should be in Old Norse, but fra, fra, frey. You can see the link. 24. This is one of the most common ones, which I've heard other people notice and say as well. Kirk for church. If you look at a lot of old churches in Scotland, they're called kirks. K-I-R-K. Not to be confused with Captain Kirk in Star Trek, but it's the same spelling. And kyrka, of course, in Swedish is very similar to that. But also Old Norse is kirkja. K-I-R-K-J-A. Kirkja. Which I would imagine has a hard K in the beginning. That's very similar. And that moves us along to the last one on the list, which is blether. Chat. Informal kind of... You can say blether in a negative term if two people or more are talking too much or talking in a way that's kind of annoying. They're blethering. Children often blether, for example. But you can also have a blether with your friends, which just means a good chat, and maybe a catch-up if you hadn't seen each other for a while. It tends to mean there's a lot of talking going on, blether. You can also use it as an adjective for a person. I have been called a blether, believe it or not. I only found this out recently. There's an Old Norse link, which looks, I don't even know what the letter is. It's got a weird thing in it. It looks like a D. So it's, or it could be an O with something above it. But it's Blaðra or Blau, I think it's more Blaðra. It's B-L-A, this weird wonky O or D with something above it, and then R-A. I do apologise for not being better with weird and wonky letters, but hey, we're not all perfect. But the meaning of that is apparently wag the tongue, which would make sense. Bit of a tongue wagging, you know? Wag the tongue, which kind of implies talking too much. Makes perfect sense. So that brings us to the end of the list. I hope there were some new ones in there for you, or some that you at least found amusing or entertaining. And if you have any more, get them in the comments. Get the conversation going. Because I want to hear more. I would like to hear more. Please inform me. And as I said before, if you have any corrections to anything I have said, feel free to do so. Thank you, and bye for now.